Hello, I'm Sheila Soul, Superintendent of the Addison Northwest School District, and I am sharing with you information that was presented as part of the Community Engagement Committee's December 8th meeting on the future of Addison Northwest, and I'm sharing with you long-term fiscal information that was provided at that meeting. This information is not new. It is much the same information that we have been sharing over the past 18 months as the board and community grapple with the long-range planning we are currently engaged in. We have, however, updated the information and provided some additional details that we hope can be helpful. Many of you are also aware that we have recently engaged in further consideration of consolidation options that exist between our district and the Mount Abe Unified School District. This week, Mount Abe Superintendent Patrick Reen recommended that his board consider a merger between Mount Abraham Unified School District and Addison Northwest School District. His recommendation was that each board act swiftly to form a study committee to look closely at what a merged district could look like, draft articles of agreement to be reviewed by the State Board of Education, and then ultimately put the issue before the voters of each community. A yes from the commingled votes of the 5 towns in the Mount Abraham Unified School District, and a yes from the commingled votes of the 5 towns of the Addison Northwest School District would result in forming a newly merged district to become operational on July 1, 2023. We did not discuss the Mount Abe proposal that took place during our meeting, but we did acknowledge that the information had been shared and that it was an important development for us to consider. This slide shows the total budget amounts from fiscal year 15 through the current year. It is important to note that from fiscal year 15 through fiscal year 17, the Addison Northwest School District had not merged yet under Act 46. So these figures are the combined total for all budgets in the supervisory union. Then from fiscal year 18 to present, we show the district amounts, which are one budget. While there are some differences from year to year, the budget has hovered between 21 and 22 million since fiscal year 18, as the cost of wages, services, healthcare, transportation, and other costs continue to increase. It is also important to note that during that time, we have reduced staffing by approximately 15% by eliminating 32 positions over 4 years. In fiscal year 18, we employed a total of 222 employees, and currently we employ 190. This slide shows a comparison of per pupil costs from all districts in the state. Per pupil costs are calculated by dividing our education spending, which is total spending, minus revenue, by an equalized pupil count, and that is what gives us our cost per equalized pupil. The state then sets a limit on the amount districts can spend per equalized pupil before a tax penalty is assessed. This is known as the spending threshold. Addison Northwest has struggled to stay below the threshold, and in FY21, this current year, we breached the amount set by the state by $51 per pupil, and were assessed a penalty which impacted the overall budget by $49,000, with a net impact to taxpayers in the amount of approximately $24,000 in increased taxes. On this graph, we fall in the column that is 6th from the right in the category just to the right of the tallest bar. We rank 12th most expensive at $18,808 per equalized pupil. We fall within 313 of Mount Abraham Unified School District and 172 of our Addison Central School District neighbors. Mount Abe is in the tallest bar at the high range of it, and Addison Central and Addison Northwest are in the bar next to the tallest bar to the right. Slides 4 through 6 show the education tax rates in our Addison County community. The homestead education tax rate is based primarily on the education spending per equalized pupil of all the pupils residing in each town. The next 3 slides show how the Addison Northwest School District, the Mount Abraham Unified School District, and Addison Central School Districts rank in terms of the education tax rate. A ranking is provided out of 259 towns. Here this shows, for example, Panton is near the top most expensive rated at number 11, whereas Addison ranks lower in our district at 57 out of 259. The column on the far right shows the average educational tax in each town on a home valued at $300,000. Note that this is just the ed tax portion of a tax bill. And it's also important to note that 2/3 of Vermonters have an income sensitivity factor that influences what the taxpayer actually pays. This shows the tax rates in the Mount Abraham Unified School District. Lincoln is ranked 121 out of their 5 towns, whereas New Haven is ranked 30th. That's kind of the range there. And then these are the same homestead property tax rates ranked for the Addison Central School District. Middlebury is near the bottom of that list, whereas Ripton is near the top of the list for their towns. Factors that influence per pupil costs. Per pupil spending variations between districts may result from a wide variety of factors. This is a partial list of factors that may explain some of the variations seen in budgetary data. Budgets are total budgets and account for the cost of all students, including those who are tuitioned, and numbers of tuition students vary widely between districts. Budgets are per pupil and are based on residential pupil counts and do not include students tuitioning into the district, although the budget includes those costs. This results in an artificially high budget per pupil figure for districts receiving large number of tuition students. We are not in that category. Special education costs may vary widely between districts, depending upon what is written into a student's IEP and what their level of disability may be. Those costs can vary quite widely. Transportation costs may vary widely between districts. Local programmatic choices may differ between districts, though not as much as one may think, because we do have education quality standards that tie us to certain educational programs and outcomes. Spending patterns may differ historically. Capital construction projects may differ, and the contractual agreements and experience level of the teaching staff may also differ. Our costs for staff have increased significantly over time, largely due to rising healthcare costs. This graph shows how compensation costs will continue to rise, but it also shows the proportionate share of the total cost of compensation for wages, healthcare, and other benefits. You can see that the orange band, which represents the cost of healthcare, increases and becomes a greater proportionate share over time. It is expected to be nearly 50% of the total cost per employee by fiscal year 26. This is important because 66% of our total budget cost is the cost of salary and benefits. So the impact of these increases is significant. As you will hear more about in the part of the presentation talking about the NSDAC report, the New England School Development Council, NSDAC, provided the board with options for consideration, recommending action the board might take to help provide our students with the best education possible in a way that will be supported by our community more sustainably, given the harsh realities of our fiscal future. This table shows how the recommendations align with options already under consideration by the board, shown in the left-hand column. The far right-hand column shows how the options are expected to impact the education tax bill on a $300,000 home in the years between fiscal year 22 and fiscal year 26. This slide show presentation will be available for your reference on our website, so you can look at this more closely. This slide shows basically the same information that was just shared in the table before. The orange line represents the level funded budget, which would become increasingly more difficult to achieve. In order to maintain level funding over the next 4 years, we would have to cut approximately $5 million over time. If we consider 66% of our funding is salary and benefits, this equates to reducing about 40 positions positions in the district. With a staff of 190, 40 fewer staff would have a considerable impact on teaching and learning in the district. Proportionally, this equates to 23 teaching positions, 10 support staff positions, and 6 administrative positions. This would also likely mean eliminating athletics, co-curricular offerings like theater, as well as eliminating world languages, band, chorus, and other classes in the arts, and flexible pathways for our high school students. You can see from the other lines on the charts that none of the other options provide an option that levels off or becomes sustainable. Each has a steep associated trajectory. There's no doubt we're at a critical juncture as a school district and as a community, which has us in consideration of other options that help to address these unsustainable increases and allows us to maintain or even grow learning opportunities for the students in our communities. This shows options for consideration that came from the NSDEC report that combines us with Mount Abe. These are detailed further in the other presentation that was shared with you. Here are some preliminary facts related to this consideration. This includes combining middle and high school grades 7 through 12. One option also includes 6th grade with locations to be determined. This allows us to keep and even increase our program offerings for students. For example, keeping all of our world language offerings and adding in their world language offerings actually increases the amount, the number of world languages being offered to students. There also may be an increase in the number of AP course offerings across the 2 schools that we'd be able to keep if we merged further. This option closes one central office, and there is the potential for more savings due to combining athletics and co-curricular programming and other purchasing. The associated savings and impacts were preliminarily estimated. This eliminates approximately 23 middle and high school positions, or $1.7 million in savings. It eliminates at least 11 central office positions, which equates to approximately $1 million in savings. It would eliminate 8.5 positions if we bring 6th grade over into the middle school, which saves approximately $637,000. And a conservative estimate for the additional savings for combining athletics, co-curricular programs, et cetera, is about $280,000. We did not calculate the savings that would be from reducing support staff positions because those are primarily based on student needs, which we haven't yet assessed. But this yields a combined $3.6 million in savings in just 1 year's time, and then those savings would continue year after year thereafter. Our equivalent share of the savings would be approximately $1.3 million in the first year of merger. So that is the information that was shared on December 8th, and we thank you for listening, and we hope that you will share your thoughts and opinions on this in the survey that we have provided.